right, good day to you. My name is Fred Oakman, and as always with me today is Mr. Jake Peters. We are PS This Is Awesome, a PlayStation podcast, and this is episode 204, and this is a show where we share our feelings about the current state of PlayStation. But before we get off the show, I want to invite you all to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, youtube.com/PS This Is Awesome. Visit us at Twitter at PS This Is Awesome. And if you want to make fun of our trophy list on the PSN, you could find me at anchorless_81 and Mr. Jake Peters at JakeSaw01. And as always, you can rate the show at psthisisawesome@gmail.com. Most importantly, don't forget to share the show with your friends. Make sure to leave comments, rate the podcast as you see fit. And as a reminder, we are now doing this as a video podcast, so you can watch us talk about video games if you prefer over at our YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is slowly growing. So for new and or longtime listeners, we now have a Patreon. You can support the show at a $1 level. It's called the One and Only $1 Club. Head over to www.patreon.com/PS This Is Awesome to become a $1 patron and get your free die cut vinyl sticker and a shout out on our show. With that out of the way, Jake, how are you doing today?
Pretty good, all things considered. Recovering from COVID. So other than that, I mean, it's been kind of a week, but I feel pretty good now.
Yeah, you look pretty healthy, considering.
Yeah, that's probably the most sick I've been since grade school, I'm guessing.
Was it really that bad?
It was pretty terrible. And I mean, this mostly because I never get sick, literally ever. I've been sick. I think I've used 5. I've been at my job for 12 years, and I think I've used 5 sick days.
Wow.
So that tells you how little I get sick. And
yeah, that's pretty wild. You have a really, and you were just on the last show talking about it too, about how like.
Well, I was talking. It was funny. We were talking on the last show about how it sucks that every time you get sick, you have to wonder if it's COVID and all this shit.
You don't know. Yeah.
It ended up I had COVID.
What was the turning point for you? When were you like, it's time to get tested?
I had a fever on Sunday night. And then Monday I felt pretty bad all day. So I decided to take a test on Monday evening, and I was positive. So yeah, I've pretty much felt like shit. Basically in some capacity until Friday.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
My symptoms started on Saturday, so yeah.
I'm glad you're getting through it. You're almost out of the lion's maw, I guess. Almost out of it.
Yeah, well, I can go back to work tomorrow. All I got to do is basically wear a mask for the next day or two, and then, it's totally fine. But I'm allowed to leave the house tomorrow.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, you missed a volcano.
What's that?
You missed the volcano then. You weren't affected by that because you didn't leave the house. No.
I guess not.
There was a big volcano that erupted under the ocean. Huge. And there's like all these tsunami alerts and stuff. Like it happened like not last night, but the night before at 11 p.m. And they have all this ridiculous satellite imagery of it. And it's enormous. The thing it's kind of in the Ring of Fire area, which is synonymous with tons of volcanoes. But like, they're talking to some experts. So yeah, we're not really surprised that this happened, but the magnitude at which it erupted and being able to catch it and see it on satellite imagery is really kind of astounding. So it's affecting some waves. Obviously the coasts, mainly I think the coast of California out there. There was a lot of vacate. Don't be on the beaches because there's water coming. I think 3 feet waves or something, maybe higher than that. I don't know. All the way over here, which is crazy because it happened far away. It's interesting.
Well, I know we're supposed to get like an ass load of snow tonight and tomorrow.
Yeah, an ass load, ton of it.
So we'll see if that actually happens. It seems like it's usually always overstated.
Did you see the pictures of Lake Erie right now? Oh man, it's nasty. It looks like it's like Niagara Falls in the coldest day ever. Like benches and pipes and like docks are all just covered in sheets of ice because I think it's so windy and so cool. I mean, it's like in the single digits here right now. It was really cool. And I went outside yesterday and I stepped outside and I just felt my jeans freeze. Like they were like frozen on my body. And I was like, God, I got to get back inside. Taking the dog out has become a really, really terrible chore to do. around the house.
Today it hasn't been that cold. I think that's part of the reason why they're worried about all this snow, because the temperature changed from yesterday to today. Yesterday was like the mid-teens. Today it's like 28 or 27, something like that.
Yeah, I got 25 now. Yeah, same difference. Yeah, very cool. Well, anyways, man, I have you been taking advantage at all of being sick and getting any game time in, since you're not really mobile?
I mean, I've been sleeping a lot, but yeah, I did. I talked last week about finishing, what the hell was that? Mass Effect 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then I beat 2 other games.
Jeez.
I beat that game, The Forgotten City, that I was talking about a couple weeks ago. That's the one that's like, it's like a kind of like an adventure game type thing where you're like in this underground Roman city and you got to like try to prevent somebody. It's like the sins of one affect the many or something like that.
Yeah,
and you have to try and prevent this. It's like a time loop thing, but it's all about preventing this from happening. So I beat that. And then I also beat Narita Boy, which is both of those games are fucking awesome. I highly recommend both of them. And then I've been playing, in the last couple of days, I've been playing Dishonored, Death of the Outsider, because I'd never played it and I've been wanting to play it for a long time.
Cool.
So I jumped into that.
Is that
I know
DLC
it's not really
or something,
game.
Or is that for Dishonored? Or
it's like a standalone DLC type thing. It came out after, like a little ways after Dishonored 2. So I think it came out in 2017. So it's like 5 years old now, but it's, I never played it, and I was a huge fan of Dishonored 1 and also a big fan of Dishonored 2. So I figured, why not? I mean, I've had it downloaded forever. I might as well decide to just try it out.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of at sort of a point right now where I'm just sort of playing stuff, waiting for either Horizon or Dying Light to come out. I don't know if I'll start Dying Light before Horizon, but we'll see.
Fair enough. Well, I'll tell you what. I jumped back into Streets of Rage 4 and got 2 more trophies in that game. I am so close to a fucking platinum in Streets of Rage 4. It's ridiculous. But
Does it have one?
Yeah. But it's so ridiculously difficult. You essentially have to beat the game with 1 credit, which means on hard difficulty. So those beat 'em up games, you know how hard they can get, right? So it's a skill trophy. It's not like just like you got to find stuff or unlock moves. It's like you have to beat the game. A run through the game on easy probably takes about an hour, maybe a little bit longer. So you start with 3 lives, and I've been doing a little research. They say like the first version of Axel from Streets of Rage 1, when you unlock him, does the most damage. And so they say to try it with him. Right now I'm trying it with somebody. I'm on like level 6 and I've died once. And you can get extra lives by pointing up, so it can be very strategic the way you play it. So I understand how this could be a cool trophy to get. It's the one I'm missing that one, and then I have to play through Streets of Rage, just a single player game, 1 time each with all the different characters. So that's kind of annoying because like I tried to unlock it by just playing through on like multiplayer. I had my brother jump in, and like we went through a whole game where I was like the same character the whole way through, and it didn't unlock the trophy. You have to do it single player, which is kind of lame. So I thought, well, it'll be fun to kind of like plow through it with another person and get credit for it, but it didn't give me credit for it. So I have a couple of those unlocked. And then the other one that's going to be really tough is, I believe, actually that might be the hardest one. That might be the most difficult one on my list, is to beat the game. There was one that was really, really tough, really, really hard, which was like land a ridiculous combo, because it keeps track of your combo. Like you hit people. If you get hit 1 time, it breaks your combo, obviously. But then the way those beat 'em up games are set up, it's not like you're playing like Street Fighter. It's like when you kill a guy, you have to make sure like there are other enemies on the screen so you can continue your combo, or else you'll time out of it. So you have to find like the best part of the level to do it. And then I got that one after a little YouTube research, because it's just one of those things. It's like, I'm going to let someone else figure out how to do it, and then I'll just execute it. But like doing the single player through on hard without using a continue. So 3 guys. I think the YouTube channel or the GameFAQ thing that I pulled up said that you can do it. You can feasibly, if you eat if you're already at full health and you eat like because you can health up by picking up like chicken or salad on the street, and it boosts your health. So they said like if you save your special moves at the end of each level and you only eat those when you're maxed out on health already, because they just get converted into points, that you can maybe get about 7 lives total on a single playthrough on hard. So I'm down to 2 lives and I'm on like level 6, and there's probably like 15 levels. So I don't think this playthrough is going to cut it, but I'm going to see how far I can get. I'm not using the good character either they said to use. I started before I started looking up, because I died and I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is going to be so, because the bosses are so hard in these games. There's bosses at the end of every stage and you have to beat them and not die. And if you use your special moves, it depletes your health. So it's just like everything is stacked against you of being able to move. It's supposed to be like a quarter chewer, like those old beat 'em up games. So to like beat it through, I don't know. I really fucking want to do it, but I don't know if I have what it takes. I beat Mass Effect 1, and we've both now gotten through that. So we're sticking pretty good to the plan. We'll do a Mass Effect episode soon. LJ wrote in and he wanted to know if he should do Mass Effect 1 or something else. He had something else on his repertoire, on his game list. And I said, dude, just beat Mass Effect 1, because we're going to start recording an episode where Jake and I talk about it. So I'd even be willing to have him come on and share maybe his opinions of the game with us. But he said so far he's really enjoying it. So that's good. So it is a really good remake for people who've never played it before. Like, you never played it before. I never played it before. I know you didn't like the Mako, but...
I mean, the Mako is fucking trash, but I'm just so excited for you guys to play Mass Effect 2, because it is so much better. I mean, I don't want to build your expectations too much, and then, have you be like, oh, this isn't as good as I expected it to be. But it is like they took everything that was awesome about Mass Effect 1 and then just improved on it.
Yeah.
And I think that it flows a little better. It's a little deeper in terms of the systems. The game's a little longer, so it allows you to explore like some of the social relationships a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like, cause we don't talk.
Yeah. We'll have a whole episode dedicated to it. You want to move on to the news? Welcome to the PS This Is Awesome Patreon page. For those of you that don't know, my name is Fred Oakman.
And I'm Jake Peters.
And we're a PlayStation podcast currently in our 10th year. Our first episode aired in July of 2012, where we discussed and speculated on the arrival of the PS4. Over the years, we've used this podcast to take a break from adulting, share our love of video games, and in particular, PlayStation.
The audio podcast is available on all major streaming services, and we have recently made the leap to uploading video content and video podcasting to our YouTube channel, as well as the very occasional Twitter post or live stream. Over the years, we have covered everything from PS3 to PS Vita through the launches of PS4, PSVR, and now PS5. As our audience has grown over the years, we have decided to start this Patreon with the hopes of creating a medium in which we can give you the opportunity to help support our show.
And as a test bed, we're starting with a single tier. It's called the one and only $1 Club. So with your support at the $1 level, we're going to mail you a premium vinyl cut sticker and give you a shout out on the podcast. But at this time, unfortunately, we can only ship to the US and Canada. But this is subject to change depending on your interest.
So whether you're new to the show or you're a frequent flyer, we are forever thankful for your support and hope you can find it in your little gaming heart to join us in the one and only $1 Club. Until next time, like PlayStation, podcasting, and Patreon, PS, this is awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
All right, let's do the news. So I don't like this news, Jake, but for anybody interested in Horizon Forbidden West, apparently the game has been leaked and there are spoilers abound. So now is the time to go dark on it. Don't pay attention to it. Block the stuff on Twitter. Just it's going to be out very soon. So I mean, it just fucking pisses me off when I get stuff spoiled. And I didn't see anything, but I saw a news post somewhere about it indicating that it has been leaked and there are spoilers all over the place. So just a word of warning.
I mean, this is going to be a thing basically from now until forever, that it's just going to happen with every single big release that comes out. So it's basically wise to just, if you're interested in a game that has a single player story, to just kind of quit on it news wise.
Just quit checking the news altogether, really.
Yeah.
And just listen to our show. We'll tell you what's going on.
Exactly. If you just wait like 6 months before it comes out, just don't even look at it at all anymore.
We'll tell you what's relevant PlayStation wise. Yeah. So yeah, let's move on. So Street Fighter, Jake, is now 35 years old. And the logo for the 35-year anniversary is awesome. And I think there's something about the logo for Street Fighter that is so incredibly identifiable with that IP that I think companies need to take note. Who was was it Konami that changed their logo recently? Was it that we hated? It was like a speech bubble.
Bandai Namco.
Yeah, Bandai Namco. Yeah.
Bandai Namco.
Yeah, so don't change shit so often. Build your image, build your brand. New doesn't always equal better. And I saw this logo pop up when I was looking at news stories, and it just kind of made me feel really old, first of all. 35 years old? When did Street Fighter come out? Like, I'm 40. That means it would have come out when I was 5? The first Street Fighter?
It would have come out in the 80s, probably in the arcade.
86, probably. 86, 87.
Yeah, which is pretty amazing if you think about it, considering it's still widely considered, the gold standard of fighting games.
It's such a good fighting game. There's something about Street Fighter that no one's really been able to tap into quite like them. Mortal Kombat is pretty good, but
I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for Super Street Fighter 2, just because I played the shit out of that game when I was a kid on my Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I really don't like Street Fighter. I don't like the way it controls.
I love it.
I hate using the up button for jump. It drives me fucking crazy. But and I hate how slow the movement is.
Sorry.
But like all of like the moves and like the actual fighting is awesome. I just hate the way you move around the screen.
They invented the special move in fighting games. So like the down, roll forward, and a button like for the ball of flame that Ryu and Ken shoot, or whatever that thing's called.
The Hadouken?
Yeah, they invented that joystick maneuver and that combination. Like, think about that. Like, that's awesome. Like, that has followed every fighting game has used that to a degree for a special move for somebody. Maybe it doesn't always result in the Hadouken, but the fact that they came up with the idea of the special move, I think they did. If I'm wrong, correct me, listeners, but I don't know who else would have done it.
I have no idea.
Who else would have come up with
that quarter turn forward punch, or
the rollback kick? Yeah. So good to have special moves. And if you didn't know the button combination, you were boned, man. Like, you didn't, you'd be fighting somebody in the arcade and you look over and they'd have Blanca like doing these crazy maneuvers. You're like, what the fuck is that guy pushing over there? There's only
flying all
4
over
buttons,
the
6
screen
buttons.
shit.
Yeah, what combination do I have to need to push to make my dude do that? I love the idea of fighting games. I love the competitiveness, but only like I think I like it less online. I think I would much rather stand at an arcade cabinet and duke it out with somebody over a quarter. It'd be so much more fun. I remember, dude, it was always really intimidating going to the arcade when I was like younger, because there's always some older guy at the table, and like, here comes a challenger. You put your quarter in and be like, hey, man, do you mind if I try? He's like, yeah, go for it. And you're like, just a little kid, like fucking trying to beat him. So, I don't know, man. There's something cool about that, for sure. All right. Well, hey, here's some news about the Twisted Metal TV series. Lucid Games, they were originally tasked with creating a companion game to the new Twisted Metal TV series. And they have recently been removed from the game project, and it's rumored that it's now in the capable hands of Firesprite, which is interesting. So Firesprite was working on the Horizon thing. They did Call of the Mountain, with Gorilla. So I don't know. Is it possible that it could be a VR?
If it's a VR game, that would be weird if they
Metal?
wanted it to be a companion game for a TV show. You'd think they would want it to be a little bit more accessible.
Yeah, it's just weird. It's weird. I mean, I guess it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be VR, but it's also noted in the article on Push Square that Twisted Metal, the TV series, is being described as an action comedy involving a courier. So I guess my impression of that would be kind of like a Mad Max kind of thing with some comedic relief, and you're just trying to courier shit around somewhere. I don't know.
To me, it sounds like maybe they're going to be going like, instead of the Mad Max route, they're going to be going the Borderlands route. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, what does that really mean in the Twisted Metal universe? I have no idea.
An action comedy. So maybe like Zombieland or like
Yeah, maybe. I mean, obviously I don't think there's zombies in
but like the vibe, right? Like
universe.
where there's going to be
Sure.
like explosions and guts and whatever, but then also like comedy.
like comedic characters on the background of, you know, a serious environment or something. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. And on a side note, it looks like, and this is not game related, but I'm really excited about it. Talking about TV series. I don't know if you ever watched the Justified movies or TV shows with Timothy Oliphant. You ever watch those?
No.
He apparently is reprising his role from that acclaimed TV show on it's going to be a Disney Plus series, and I forget what it's going to be called, but it's going to be based in Detroit. So Raylan Givens is coming back. So I'm so excited about that. I just heard about that, so I had to throw it in there. Talking about TV series.
Huh.
Yeah. I love Timothy Oliphant. I think he's fantastic. He's underrated.
Did you like him in the Hitman live action movie?
Yeah, he was amazing. Yeah.
I'm sure he was. He looked fucking stupid as Agent 47. I'll just tell you that right now.
Good.
The movie was terrible.
Way to bring it back to games, though. I give you credit on that. I couldn't quite do it myself. I was like, man, how the hell can I do? Anyways, man, I think he's awesome. So if the scuttlebutt's true, Jake, PS4s are going to stop being produced at the end of the year, and it's always kind of like a bittersweet thing to see the end of a console. I mean, I don't like the idea of like this awesome machine stopping being made.
I mean, all I have to say about
sad.
it is that there better be PS5s in the store before they stop making PS4s.
Do you think they're sitting on an overabundance of PS4s?
They might be. I mean, if nobody's buying them, but I feel like people are still buying them because they can't buy PS5s. Yeah. So I don't know, like, because like I was talking about last week about my Xbox, I mean, I could still sell my Xbox One S without a disc drive for more than I paid for it. So people are still hungry for getting a new console, even if it's an old console. So I feel like Sony would be stupid to stop making them if they don't have PS5s on the market.
Yeah.
Now, if they do, if they're like, oh, well, we know that by the end of 2022, we're going to have PS5s in stores, then fuck it. Yeah. Stop selling PS4s, then you'll make a lot more money. People will buy PS5s.
Yeah. So this could be a little telling, right? This could be slightly telling of maybe Sony's plan. Maybe they're confident.
Maybe. It could also mean that, it could also be that they, go back on it at the end of the year, but we'll see. It really depends how the year goes.
Yeah. So when you jumped into our chat here, I was watching a trailer for this game called Far Changing Tides. Have you seen anything about this game?
Is that the one that's like the ship on the ocean? It's like side scrolly.
Yeah, looks like action adventure game. It looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's all.
I watched the trailer of it, but I don't know anything about it.
Neither do I. I just wanted to ask you if you knew anything about it, because like I just saw the trailer for the first time and I was like, wow, this game's coming out, I don't know, in a little over a month, and it looks like an indie title and stuff, but it looks really cool.
Yeah, it does look interesting. I will give you that. I'm trying to think of, it reminds me of something and I can't. It's like when you're not in this, like when you're, it's almost like when you're on the ship on the ocean, instead of in a 3D space wandering around the ship and doing shiply tasks, right? It like cuts out the side of the ship, almost as if you're looking like at a map of a ship from the side, and you can like 2D kind of wander through the ship, I'm guessing, and do maintenance type tasks for your ship. And then once you get to wherever you're going, then there's 2D platforming kind of on the islands or wherever you're going to be going to. So I don't know if this is supposed to be like an exploration type game or...
Well, I'm on the website.
What?
It's farchangingtides.com, and it says it's from the creators of the award-winning Far Loan Sales. And I've never played that, but this is coming to Epic, Steam, PlayStation, Xbox, Switch. It says sit sail and discover the wonders of a flooded world rife with mystery. Dive into unknown depths and on the hunt for fuel and salvage. Devise innovative solutions to overcome intricate obstacles and unearth forgotten relics lost to time. And then it says experience the thrill of captaining a unique seafaring vessel with a mind of its own. More than a ship, this is a friend. Together you'll brave the high seas, navigate intense storms, and plumb the perils of a briny deep. Growing as an inseparable partnership, captain your ship. And then it says, contend with both fantastical and familiar in a richly detailed environment to captivate and mesmerize, from bleak shorelines lopped by tides, desolate basins and flooded forest valleys, to submerged in enclaves frozen in time. Each lovingly hand-painted location tells its own story. And that's what the thing that really stuck out to me was the art. So they're saying in here that it's all hand-painted. And you definitely are on the ship, but I'm seeing like scenes where it turns into first person. And I don't know if that's just the photo mode or something, but it looks, I don't know how the game plays, but visually it looks cool to me.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know, just something to be on the lookout. I know we're all excited for Horizon coming around the bend. We've been talking about Dying Light 2, all these other games that are getting a lot of press, all these AAA games, but don't forget there's a lot of really cool indie looking games coming out also. Speaking of Dying Light 2, Jake, we talked last year how they said, or last episode, how they said there's going to be 500 hours of gameplay. You know, they could beat the game. We were like, what the hell does that even mean? And then we kind of determined that like it's just a decision tree to see every possible little and nook and cranny of the game. Well, they've come out now, the developer, and they said that they are going to promise 5 years of updates to this game. That's a lot of like time to support a game. I feel like I'm not thinking about games I played 5 years ago. I don't think so, unless I can really let the mark with me.
Depends on what they do with it, because I mean, Skyrim's over 10 years old now, and there's still content being created for that game all the time. So I'm not saying that Dying Light 2 is going to be as world changing as Skyrim was, but depending on how they make it, like if they make like a living world and where they can just push content in here, there, and everywhere, not to mention if I doubt this is the case, but if it like supports the user mods and stuff, like I could easily think about it being something that they could support for years to come. And it took them a long time to develop Dying Light 2. I mean, the first Dying Light came out in like 2014 or 2015, something like that. So, you know, it's been a long time coming, and it sounds like the game is going to be relatively deep. So I hope that I don't know that it's going to be something that I feel like putting 500 hours in. I doubt it, because nothing makes me want to put 500 hours into it anymore. But I'll be curious to see what they do to kind of keep that carrot out in front of you, to keep you wanting to play it. And now I do think, I'm not positive, but I think Dying Light has maybe it has some kind of a co-op component to it. Not positive on that.
I don't know.
But if it does, that might help sort of stretch the legs of it some. But I don't know. I'm excited for the game. I loved the first Dying Light. I thought it was fantastic. So I'm really interested to see what Dying Light 2 is like. Now, the only thing that concerns me about all this extra content is how long is the base game going to be? Hopefully it's like 30 hours or something like that, I'm guessing. The only reason why I'm concerned is that like a game like Skyrim, for example, the reason why I can wander around that game for 100 hours is because I can literally just wander around and like enjoy the being in the world. Whereas like Dying Light is a little bit more frenetic. Like you can't just wander around the world.
Right.
You have to like actively scale buildings and stuff, and things are constantly hunting you. It's not like you can just avoid stuff a lot, so I mean, you can avoid bad guys and zombies and all that, but it's much more of an active playing experience. Whereas like Skyrim, you could almost play it like an adventure game if you want. You could avoid combat and just kind of wander around and go fishing and do like exploration and stuff. Whereas I'm curious how much of that they're going to bring into Dying Light to make it something that people want to spend hours and hours and hours and hundreds of hours in. So I'm curious, because to me, boasting about the fact that it has 500 hours is kind of like an antiquated way to promote your game. Because that was like something that, 5-7 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, when developers were like, we've got hundreds of hours of content, everyone was like, oh my God. And they were getting really excited because this game's going to be bigger than ever.
Yeah.
But now I think people are just overwhelmed with stuff to do, like games to play. So it's less appealing whenever they see a game come onto the radar that's like, we're going to be 500 fucking hours. And, I think a lot of people now are like, well, I've got like 30 games to play. So you're telling me that I'm going to have to spend 100 hours playing this game? So I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I'm curious though.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about Dying Light 2. Like, I've been kind of had a hankering for scary games, and I think there's some of that to this, the open world thing. But like you said, you got to be a little more calculated with your movements in this game, travel during the day, if you get caught somewhere in the night, that kind of thing. And, the story, it's going to have side quests, sure. It's going to have a main linear mission, not linear per se, but a main story to tell. I think it's going to be good, but I don't know that it's a day one for me. It's something I really think I would enjoy playing, but like you said, man, like how do we exercise time management in such a way that we can play all of these games when you live a life outside of the video game world, right? That's the tricky part. So you have to be very choosy about the ones that you pick and the ones that you buy, because especially when you get older, like I think most of our listeners are a little older, they have kids, they have families. And if you don't, you hopefully will at some point, at least have something that you're responsible for doing in your life. But I guess it's just like your responsibilities start to tip the scale towards like, we get kind of forced to grow up fast. And then, you're stuck in this world where you still want to play games and you want to try everything out. That's awesome. And even if you are busting your ass and you have the money to do it, you don't always have the time. So it gets kind of tricky. I mean, I have trouble staying up past like 9:30, 10 o'clock right now. Of course, I'm getting up at 6:30 in the morning every morning, and then I'm playing gigs on the weekends, which are late. So my internal clock's all screwy, but it's hard to stay up past a certain time, no matter how much I want to. So, the game looks awesome. I don't know if it's for me right now. Like if I had to have surgery and I got put out of work for a while or something, and I was just laid up on the bed, oh, dude, it would be a blessing and a curse, because I can't stand sitting still, but at the same time, like it would afford me so much time to get ahead on all these games and like play them, because I really want to. I don't know that I'll be able to. The
problem is, for me, now is the time.
Yeah, that's it.
Now is the time, not in fucking July,
right.
Whenever I
you.
play games for like literally 4 hours a week because I'm so busy outside of the house.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, it's to me, what it's really going to boil down to is whether or not I decide to play Horizon day one, because I do want to play it, but Horizon comes out
the 14th,
2 weeks later.
18th? What days it come out?
It comes out
It's the 18th.
So I was looking at. So here we go. I'll just look. So just to give you an idea of, these are just games that I'm interested in.
Excuse me.
That are releasing in the first half of this year. So Dying Light 2, February 4th.
Yeah.
Sifu comes out February 8th, which is 4 days later. Then Horizon Forbidden West comes out February 18th,
yeah.
which is a week and a half after that. Then Elden Ring, which I'm not going to play, comes out February 25th. Then a couple weeks later, on March 4th, Gran Turismo 7 comes out.
Yeah.
Then a couple weeks after that, if you're interested, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands come out, the Borderlands spinoff, which I think looks cool. And then in May, Forspoken comes out. And somewhere in there, the PS5 version of Cyberpunk is coming out. So there's in all of those games, like if you're talking about maybe not so much Sifu, but if you're talking about like Dying Light, Horizon, Elden Ring, Cyberpunk, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, all of those are going to be open world RPG-esque games that are going to be fucking huge.
Yeah, they're all going to be bigger games, man.
And that doesn't take into account something like, now I'm not going to play Gran Turismo 7 probably, but Gran Turismo 7, Gran Turismo is one of those games that like the people that play those games play them for hundreds of hours.
Right.
They're not like, a game that somebody plays for 5 hours and puts down.
Yeah.
Unless you're like a dabbler.
Unless you're me.
Which, I'm not for $70. I'm not.
Right.
So, I might dabble whenever it's $20 or something like that, or if it comes to PS Plus or whatever, but I don't know. I mean, that's just the first 3-4 months of the year. We've got a handful of games that are all going to be larger games, and we're going to have to pick and choose. And I'm excited for Dying Light and obviously Horizon, but there's going to be some games that I'm interested in that I just might not get to. Like I'm really interested in Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Like I think it's going to be like, to me, it seems like a cool application of that sort of IP. Kind of like a fantasy take on Borderlands. And then, obviously I'm interested in playing Cyberpunk, but I mean, I don't know how many hours you put into Cyberpunk, Fred, but I'm sure like it could be almost as long as you want it to be.
Yeah, I beat it. But there's still a lot of side quests I didn't do.
And then sometime in Q2, The Witcher PS5 comes out, which I'm probably not going to play. But I mean, I might play it if it's a free upgrade.
Someone said
PS4 version. But
I read somewhere that it's getting additional downloadable content, new stuff.
I mean, if they're giving us new content, then maybe I'll play it, or like a new expansion or something. Because the two expansions for The Witcher 3 were both really good. I mean,
yeah,
I know that people talk more about Blood and Wine because it had like the whole Toussaint map and all that shit. But I actually thought that Hearts of Stone was a better story.
Oh, 100%. It was so good.
So, yeah. So, but if they do come out with like a new fucking DLC kind of story content for that game, especially with as successful as a TV show has been,
well, it was a tie. So, yeah. And I guess maybe I should explain what I saw. So, I saw that it was a post saying that the DLC with the upgraded version of The Witcher 3 isn't going to be as meaty as the other DLCs they've released for the game, but they said that it was going to run in conjunction with the Netflix series. So my guess is that it's going to be some sort of skins or something, or some sort of like, maybe the characters will look like the people from the TV series, or I don't know. I would personally love to see like a side quest where you get to play as like Eskel or somebody, or like another Witcher. Like you're not Geralt. You're just like in this other Witcher's, like you have to go track down a monster and kill it in like this mansion or something.
Yeah.
That would be cool. It doesn't have to be huge with something, right? Something to reel people in. I think that would be cool, but I don't.
It could easily be a side story, or like, I don't know that this is probably too big for them to do, but if they went backwards and did like the sacking of Kaer Morhen or something like that,
Yeah.
would be like pretty fucking cool if you think about it.
Yeah.
But
You could play Young
they're not gonna
Vesemir
do
maybe or
like
something. Yeah. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. All right. Well, hey, I don't have a whole lot more as far as news, but I did want to bring up this last one. I have heard nothing about this, and this is on Push Square. There's a PS VR MMO that is launching on the 27th of this month, which is just a really weird thing. Not PSVR 2, just PSVR. It's called Zenith, The Last City. So I guess the way that this is rolled out is that it's really ambitious, apparently. There's a one-time fee of $30, right? And then the developer is indicating they're going to give you 100 hours of content, and then they're going to continue to upgrade the game. And this is from Push Square. And it just seems interesting. So they're saying that it is full cross-play. So it will be available on the PS4, I think, without needing the VR. I don't know. I don't know. It didn't really go into detail, but I guess it's a huge, large open world, and it's an MMO, and it's VR based. But what does crossplay mean in this case? Does that mean
maybe it's crossplay? Maybe it's crossplay with like the PC versions. So like, I
don't know,
Vive and Oculus.
Oh yeah, I guess that's an option, huh? I don't know. It's called Zenith: The Last City. I kind of want to do, because the listeners know that I have the dongle. And I do love the PlayStation VR. I'm an advocate of it. But I don't know anything about this game. And I was looking at this article and I was like, what in the hell is this? So I'm on the website now. It's on, I guess it's available on Steam VR. It's available on Oculus and PlayStation VR. And it launches, I believe. Yeah, it's... thrilling anime JRPG inspired VR MMO coming to Oculus Quest, Quest 2, Rift, PlayStation VR, and Steam VR on January 27th. So it's not out anywhere, and it's launching on all these VR devices at once on January 27th, and it's $30. Dude, I bet you this thing's gonna be rad.
I mean, I haven't heard anything about it, which is kind of interesting, but I mean, I'm all about a successful VR game. So if it's good, that's great.
Open world VR,
I'd be all about. Yeah, I'd be all about. I mean, I'm not going to play it because I can't hook up my fucking VR, but I'd be all about it.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't know anything about it, but it's called Zenith: The Last City, and it looks pretty as hell for a VR game. They're not going for like a super realistic look. I mean, it looks kind of futuristic actually. The images. Are you seeing it, Jake? You looking at this?
Let me look at it right now.
It looks like the art style is interesting.
It looks kind of like that sort of maybe a little bit simpler version of like a World of Warcraft kind of aesthetic. That kind of,
it's really bright colors,
blocky, like cell shaded, kind of thing. I don't know,
which will work for VR probably.
Kind of funny. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna need to be, it can't be super high fidelity, otherwise it wouldn't work in VR, original PSVR, especially if they're doing an MMO and you're processing other people's characters and all that crap too.
Yeah,
but,
dude,
I mean, it could be fun to play. I mean, it looks weird, but it could be really fun to play.
Yeah.
But so I just, real quick, since we don't have much news, I saw that there was a couple of things that I found interesting. One was that apparently PS3 games have started appearing on the PS5 store, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if this is any indication towards what they're doing with, what was the code name? Spartacus?
Yeah, for the
or whatever the fuck it is,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, the
or if it's
Plus.
or if these are ports, or if they're just like PS Now, like streaming versions or whatever it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
It is just kind of an interesting thing. So we'll see if that's going to work or not. And the other thing that I thought was kind of interesting was that God of War came out on PC yesterday, I think.
Oh yeah, it did. Yeah.
Not yesterday, Friday, I believe it was. And because today's Sunday, and it had over 60,000 concurrent players
Jesus.
on release day on Steam.
That's insanity.
So that's pretty cool. I mean, it seems that like Sony's games coming out on PC are successful. People are really anxious to play them, which is awesome. I think it's great for the platform. And to be completely honest, I personally wouldn't give a shit if they released all the new Sony games where they came out on PC the same day as PS5, because whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, I'm gonna buy them on PlayStation because that's where I like to play. But it's not gonna hurt the platform to release them on PC as well.
If anything's gonna help, it's gonna give PlayStation more money.
Yeah, because most of the people that are gonna play it on PC, they're not going to buy a PS5 anyway. They already spent $1,000 on their computer. Mm-hmm. So why would they buy? I mean, they might, if they've got enough disposable income, they may spend another $500 just so they can play The Last of Us Part 3 or whatever. But
when it comes out, right? That's the thing. Like
when it comes out, well, I think that most people overstate how many people are going to buy a console to play a PlayStation exclusive.
Yeah.
I think people do it, but I think it's more of like a mass thing where it's like, like if someone's choosing between two consoles, they pick the PlayStation because they like the exclusives more. But if they're playing all their games on PC, they're not going to buy a fucking PlayStation 5 for one game. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, unless they're loaded, or
unless it's a VR thing, like with you and Half-Life Alyx, right? Like you don't have a Quest.
Yeah, but if they've got a good gaming PC, they could probably fucking play it on their Vive, which it's going to be a better experience. So I'm curious. I mean, it could be. It could be something interesting whenever PSVR 2 comes out, especially if it's we were talking about it last week, how I don't know if it'll be the best VR headset on the market, but it's going to be pretty close in terms of technology. So, and especially if it's cheap, that may drive people to PlayStations. If PSVR 2 comes out and it's like $300, $400, $500, like if it's, let's say it's $500, and for the price of the console and the VR at $1,000, you get in and you've got probably the best VR headset on the market right now, plus a PlayStation 5 for $1,000. I mean, you can't even buy
that's a great deal, especially with inflation and everything.
Vive for $800.
Yeah.
And that it needs a PC. So
right.
It's pretty interesting to think about.
Yeah. Well, before we get on to the new games coming out, Jake, I was looking through Push Square the other day, and they had a poll up, and they do these polls all the time. And the listeners of the show know that I like to go to Push Square, pull a lot of news topics from them for us to discuss, stuff to kind of chew the fat over, as they say. But they had a question, they had a poll. And the question was simple. It was, what's the ideal game length for you? Since we were talking about Dying Light 2 and the 500 hours that it may require, game length has come up, and we've talked about it. It's been a recurring theme on the show and specifically on this show. Talk about not having time to play the games that we want to play, the new games. So out of 5,120 votes, the resounding answer to this, now there's six answers: 0 to 5 hours, 5 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, and so on, 40 plus. The leading the charge is 20 to 30 hours is what the majority, if you're to take a cross section of gamers that get their news, PlayStation gamers get their news on Push Square probably, the majority of people would like to have 20 hours for a game, especially for a full price game, I would imagine. And, anything more than 30 kind of feels like a chore, I would imagine. It starts kind of wearing its welcome thin, unless, of course, it's a fantastic game. Or it's, meant to be. Like, you think some of these open world RPGs, we kind of go into them knowing we're going to dump a ton of hours, like The Witcher, or like Cyberpunk, or Fallout, or Skyrim. You're going to dump. I wouldn't say that that's like typical.
But even then, if like the mainline story, for example, is
if you're just a
30 hours, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
You could, let's say, that's what I'm saying about Dying Light. Like if the game's 500 hours long, but you can beat the main story in 30 hours, then to me, that's fine because everything else is optional.
Do you agree with the majority here, or do you think maybe 10 to 20?
I do. I think that it's a smidge long for me personally.
30?
I'm more of a 10 to 20 hour kind of guy.
And 20 seconds.
In a lot of times.
Yeah, that came in second, by the way.
Yeah, so like in a lot of times, depending on the game, I'm perfectly happy playing games that are less than 5 hours long, especially if it's a game that's like an indie title that I've maybe paid $20 for.
Yeah.
I'm all about them being shorter experiences because, I would rather have something be 4 hours long and just be a tight 4 hours and me walk away from that experience completely satiated and talking to somebody about how it's worth the $20, 100%. I'd way rather have that than have the game be 20 hours and have me feel like, I'm dragging ass for 3/4 of it, or at least half of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say that when you purchase a game, the length of the game can influence your purchase one way or the other. So if I'm not in the mood to buckle down, and I know I've got Horizon coming out in like 2 weeks, but I want a new game and I want to dick around in a new game and play a new game or whatever, that's exactly why I started playing Streets of Rage 4 again, trying to get the trophies, because I knew I could get through it in like an hour. So, I mean, one could say a 0 to 5 hour game may actually influence you to buy that game over something bigger. So it does work the opposite way too. And you know what I mean? And like, yeah, maybe if you're hurt or you're wounded and you're trying to recover at home, or you got COVID, right? You're going to not be working for 5 to 10 days. Maybe that's the time to buy a full freaking game, a big ass open world game, if you know you're going to be doing that. So I don't know.
Well, and I actually did this recently. Like, I don't know if you've ever used that website, How Long to Beat.
Yeah, I've seen it.
So basically if you just Google how long to beat and then a certain game, it almost always takes you to that website.
It's such a great
site. And it just is an ad, like players' average time for beating the main story versus beating all the story and 100%ing the game, essentially. And I did this recently whenever I decided to download, I had the Forgotten City, Narita Boy, and Unsighted, where that was that other game where I was like, which one do I want to play first? And I was like, I want the one that's the fastest to play first. And of the three of them, Forgotten City was the quickest to beat. So I was like, all right, fuck it, I'll play this one first.
Yeah.
And so it is something that I definitely put thought into regularly, especially if I've got a hefty schedule. So, for me, the next big internal argument is going to be, I guess it's not even so much an internal argument because we need to talk about it as a podcast, but like when we're going to do Mass Effect 2. And, I'm kind of thinking
as soon as we both beat Horizon.
Until, well, that's what I'm saying. Like when Horizon's done, we'll play Mass Effect 2.
Dial it back. Yeah, I'm in agreement with that for sure.
And because Mass Effect 2 is a 30-hour game. Like the first Mass Effect, I don't know how long it took you, but it took me like 18, 19 hours to beat the first Mass Effect.
Probably about 23 for me. Yeah.
And so Mass Effect 2, if you do a lot of stuff or whatever, you're talking between 30, 35 hours to beat that game. So, you're going to have a little bit more time sunk into it. Now, I think, Mass Effect 2 is one of those games, I believe, that's worth it. And I think that Horizon is probably going to be, I'm trying to remember the first Horizon. I think I spent like between 40 and 50 hours. I think it was like between 40 and 50 hours and I platinumed it. So I'm hoping that Horizon 2 is the same thing. And they're not doing that shit like they did with the fucking Last of Us Part 2, where they took what should have been a tight 18-hour story and made it like 35 hours for a single playthrough. And, because it was just way too much. And, we'll see.
Yeah, we will. We will see. And I did just check to see how long Streets of Rage 4 is to be, and it said 3 hours. I feel like I get through. That's a testament to how fun the game is. I felt like I was beating it in like an hour and 15 minutes or something, but I'll have to time my next run through that game. I don't know. 3 hours seems a little long, but that's the consensus. Well, moving on, Jake, let's talk about the new games coming out this week here. And it is the 16th today, I think. Let me look here. Yeah, we're recording this on January 16th, 2022. New games coming out on the 18th. We have River City Girls on PS5. January 20th, we're getting the Hitman Trilogy on PS5, PS4. Rainbow Six Extraction on PS5, PS4. RPG Golf Legends, PS5, PS4, and Windjammers 2 on PS4. I feel like that's an old list. I feel like I've read those games before. I thought the Hitman Trilogy was out already.
They're all...
Well, Extraction is a big deal.
The Hitman, the new Hitman trilogy. Is this the new Hitman trilogy, or is it is it like a port of the old Hitman
I didn't go
games?
that far. It just said Hitman Trilogy. I couldn't tell you.
Huh.
Couldn't tell you, my dude. But that's all we have for the show today.
Dude, you want to feel fucking terrible about yourself?
Not really.
So I was talking to someone at work recently about not to, I don't, this isn't trying to be political or anything about like that, but like I was talking to somebody at work about how it sucks that nowadays the way that the world works, that even if you make good money, when I say good money, I mean like good, like middle class money, not like fucking millions of dollars. But if you make good, like middle class money, you still can't buy anything without taking on debt. So you can't you can't fucking buy a car without getting a loan because they're so expensive now. You can't buy a fucking house for less than, a gajillion dollars now. Yeah. Everything requires like loans and debts and all this kind of shit. And, he was telling me about how like it's pretty fucked up that, 40 years ago or 30 years ago, our parents could buy a house for, say, $40,000. And now that house costs $200,000. But we as employees are not making 5 times as much money.
No, we're not. That's inflation, dude.
Right. So, it was just, we were having this conversation and how frustrating it was that like, between Sarah, who works in the schools, and me, I work as an engineer, like we make decent money between the two of us, but I still feel like I still feel like I have to pinch pennies all the time.
Yeah.
Because of debt and student loans and all this crazy shit. And the want
to be responsible, right? To have a little bit of emergency fund.
And you don't know when the floor is going to fall out and all this shit. Well, Video Games Chronicle has an article right now that is like the top 10 highest paid CEOs in video games right now. So if you want to think about how much money you make, the listener, or Fred, or me, how much money do you make in a year? The highest paid CEO in a North American video game company is Bobby Kotick for Activision Blizzard, who last year made $154 million. Could you fucking imagine? Just imagine making $154 million. That's more than $10 million a month.
Yeah.
A month.
I can't imagine having first of all, it's exorbitant. I don't think anyone needs that kind of fucking money. I think it's fine to want it, but I think it's ridiculous. to make that much money in a year, just because I'm just so many worlds away from that kind of lifestyle and that ability to like even comprehend what that money looks like. Like, to me, it's just imaginative. It's imaginative. Like, it's not even a real thing to me. You know what I mean? And I'll work the rest of my life, and you will too, and we'll still do the things we love. But it would be fantastic to not have to worry about
money. Yeah,
like even buying a game, right? Or like, oh, if I need another,
have to feel guilty about it and all this shit. Yeah, it's really annoying. I mean. But
that's the struggle of like, dude, 99%. It's everybody. Like, if you went to college, right, to further yourself, chances are you still have a lot of debt. Unless you got into that loan forgiveness thing, which I'm actually eligible for because I do public service as a work, but I don't know how to even fucking do it. And the time's ticking. I only owe like, listen, this is how fucked up it is. I'm 40. I'm still paying off my student loans. And I went to a state college, dude. I didn't go to like some fancy pants college. You know what I mean? And it's just like one of those things, dude. I owe a little around $2,000 left on my student loans. And granted, I could just dip into the bank account and just fucking pay it off now. But the amount of interest that I'm paying on those is so small that I'd rather just keep my nest eggs.
It's basically zero at this point.
Yeah, but I'm eligible for the student loan forgiveness thing. But then we live in a world now where we have so many fucking scam artists. I'm not even fucking kidding. I get 3 or 4 calls a week from people saying, this is so-and-so from the student loan forgiveness program. Just so you know, the Biden administration is ending the blah, 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 blah by this date. So please call us and, you know, you can have your loans forgiven. You got to set this up. You got to do the paperwork on time. We need blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't fucking trust anybody. I went to like the official government site and I was looking at all these different things about how to do it. And I'm like, fuck it. I'm not going through the stress of having my identity stolen to save me $2,000. Like, I'm just going to pay it at this point. I incurred the debt myself. I don't need someone to pay it off for me. It's just annoying because I am in public service and it's the thing that they're trying to do to help people in like my position. And like if you're teaching in teachers' positions, I'm just so sick of it, man. Like, well, there's so many scam artists.
I went to school, like I'm in a STEM field, obviously. And when I graduated from high school, and this is something that I was talking about with my work buddy too, is that like, I feel like they lied to us when we were in high school. They're like, you got to go to college, got to go to college, got to go to college. You know, all the fucking guys that are making all the money right now are the guys that are doing the apprentice programs right out of high school and getting their fucking electrician's license and making $60 an hour fucking wiring a house.
We're working for Roto-Rooter, like, right? Charging $200 to fucking pick something out of your drain. You know, those motherfuckers have figured out.
I think it's so funny because, like, you know, we were talking about, you know, people who make so much money. Obviously, like, I'm a big fan of hockey, and there's this funny kind of meme in the hockey world where NHL players, because they have, like, if you're familiar with pro sports at all, usually like in a professional sports league, the players are part of like a union. Like they have like a players association that's like a union that sort of represents them, and they bargain with the league for like, you know, minimum salaries and, you know, maximum number of games that you can play within a given amount of time, and like basically players' rights essentially. Well, part of the collective bargaining agreement for the NHL is that the maximum fine a player can incur is like $5,000 or something like that. Might even be like $10,000. And so there's always these stories that happen in the NHL where like an NHL player will just straight up fucking cold cock somebody and like totally egregious shit, like, or beat them over the head with their stick or something, and they'll get fined by the NHL like $5,000, which is the maximum allowed by the CBA. And it's like people always talking in NHL or in hockey media about like, that would be like if you or I, in terms of salaries, right? That would be like if you or I got charged like $25 to punch somebody in the face.
It worked.
In terms of our annual salary, right? So it's hilarious. It's like I got a problem with somebody at work. you better fucking believe I'd pay $25 to punch you in the face right now if I knew I could get away with it.
Right. That might keep more people in line too in the office.
It's like, why the hell? Like, why even bother finding them? You know what I mean? But like, I don't know.
That's funny.
But we don't have to talk about fucking wage inequality at this point. I mean, that's not really the point of the podcast.
Well, no,
I just thought it was kind of interesting.
Obviously, anyone who's seen our video podcast know that we are on. We're doing well. Like, you know, by no stretch am I complaining about my income and the things that I've been able to earn for myself. Not at all. We're so appreciative of the listeners. It's just one of those things that I feel like everybody, if you're human and you work full time, you're just like, why can't I fucking just have a little bit more money? Just a little bit more for my trouble, right? Like, because then you always see the next person on the next person up, and like, you know, you're the worm that day. You know, there's a big bird coming in to eat you. Like, there's always somebody the next level up, and like, if it's in your field, the way my job works is it seems like the higher you climb the ladder, the easier the job gets. Like, oh yeah, that's the impression, and it's just like, man, like, that seems so backwards, you know, because people are making so much more money than me in my field, and it seems like the responsibilities, I mean, they are responsible for more, but they do way less. Right? Oh, sure. They got to take it on the chin whenever something really bad happens. But, like, are they putting the work in daily? I don't know. That's just the way it is with a lot of places.
Well, you work for the government, too. So, I mean, that's whereas, like basically the higher ups literally need to make sure that people are following the regulations that are already set in stone.
Right.
So it's not like they're coming up with new rules and regulations.
Because you can't write that stuff.
Like organization and all that type of shit. Because like that's all above them.
Right.
Like people vote on that shit. Yeah. And then now they're just like, well, is Fred filing the TPS reports? Yeah. Oh, he is. All right, I'll go on vacation. Yeah. So like,
what office space, anyway, right? Like, what's he say? Like, hey, I'm gonna need you to come in on the weekend.
Yeah.
Oh man, no, stop.
So anyway, but I think that's all I got for today. I just thought it was kind of an
and I just didn't want the listeners to think by any stretch of the imagination that we're complaining about not having money.
Oh no, I consider myself lucky all the time.
Sure.
I mean, we have way more than a lot of people in this world do. Mm-hmm. It's just one of those things where you look at what you have and you're like, okay, well, I know that I'm doing better than, you know,
many
50% of the population, right? But then I look at the other 50% of the,
and I'm like what the hell?
The top 1%, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it's
impossible. Like I said, it's not even in my realm of imagination. I'm a pretty imaginative person. I just can't even fathom what it'd be like to make millions of dollars a year. Like, I wouldn't even know what the fuck to do with myself. Like,
if you're Jeff Bezos and your net worth is literally $500 billion, and it's like, okay, yeah, I know he doesn't have $500 billion in the bank.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you that what he has in the bank is more than you will ever make in 10 lifetimes.
Yeah.
So, what are you going to do?
I'm surprised those people don't end up dead sooner. I mean, you could have, if you have an addictive personality, like, man, I mean, but like, imagine if you had like a really bad drug problem, right? And you're Jeff Bezos and you can like create probably the best drug in the world and just like, I mean, what the fuck? Like, you could do.
Well, those people, their addiction is money, right? So
that's what drives them, right? That and the creativity and maybe like the
power,
the power,
prestige,
you know what I mean? Title. Yeah, or maybe just the praise from doing cool shit or the media attention, right? Narcissistic people maybe to a degree. I don't know, but I mean, I wouldn't say no to that kind of money. Not for a year.
Yeah. I wouldn't either.
I don't know if I'd want to do and be under the spotlight like they are. Like,
I mean, fuck, if somebody came to us and they're like, hey, we want to buy the PS This Is Awesome brand and we'll pay $1 million for it, I'd be like, you can fucking have it.
Could you imagine?
Here you go. Fred and I'll split $1 million between the two of us, and then you'll never see us again.
I can't even imagine. Yeah, I'd sell the show in a heartbeat, dude. We'll just start another podcast somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'd be that simple. But anyways, let's quit talking. let's let the listeners get on with their week. We hope you all have been doing well, and we're gonna keep coming back like a punching bag. This has been episode 204 of PS This Is Awesome. We hope you enjoyed our conversations today. There wasn't a whole lot of news points that I deemed worthy to discuss, so I hope you enjoyed the banter between Jake and I, and we will talk to you next time. There's no closing music. If you want to submit music to our podcast, you can do so if it's your band or your friend's band at psthisisawesome@gmail.com. Just shoot us a line there. Don't forget, you can hit us up on Patreon, subscribe to the show for $1 a month, and it helps us out and keeps the lights on, keeps the heat on in these wintry months, and we do appreciate y'all. So thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you next time. So like Naruto Boy, Nidhogg, and NBA Jam. P.S. This is awesome.
Awesome.